JJ, we got a countdown clock now.
I was like, what's a countdown for? I was just shaking and bobbing during the countdown clock. I really was.
I was too, but then I'm like, JJ's not gonna be doing this when we get back on.
I was doing my Charlie Murphy. I was
right. It's gonna be like Rich looking like he's having a seizure instead. John Jesperson, haven't seen you in a while.
No, you haven't. Neither has anybody really. So I shaved off a beard today when I knew who our guest was going to be. So I tried to look presentable.
I showered.
Yeah, I mean, I showered and I shaved, which shaving for me is just taking a trimmer and going over and then going, wow. But I usually do the Raza Ghul first.
Yeah, you gotta have the cool. You gotta have the cool look that you're not going outside with first.
You know, I've got the white all through here, so it looks pretty cool at the end of the day. But I mean, it only lasts for a split second. But I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I could cosplay as him eventually.
Yeah.
You know,
so I'm gonna hit you with the hard-hitting question real quick. Where's my goddamn Pat Gleason variants, Jay? A question that you've been hearing for months.
Oh, yes. It's that's part of my life right now. It's a big part of my life. I've actually got Ryan, my friend Ryan, downstairs working on stuff, and mailman came today, and he was picking stuff up for me. He was texting me, and right when he was picking stuff up, I said, I have 12 more that are prepped. I just need to put labels on them. Is that cool? So no, we're getting caught up, which is really nice. It's been difficult, and you know, we just launched Venom today.
Yes. How did that come about?
Pat was asked to do a Venom cover for Venom 200, and
which is a regular Marvel solicit, right?
It is. And so the first one that ever came out was an exclusive to Pat's shop. And so we know that retailers wanted to have their own Venom cover. And so Pat was solicited for that and came up with the idea of continuing the webhead, but making sure that retailers could have their own version that they could put out. And once they announced that, I know a lot of retailers were sending out emails, and you know, all kinds of places were sending things out asking, do you want to buy anything? So yeah, I think it went well. And then we dropped our Virgin exclusive today, and it went crazy to begin with. And then Corey showed up, and then you know, Art Germ also had a release today. You can go away now, Corey. I'm kidding, but yeah. So no, it's going well. We're wrapping up. I'll just say this for my last little bit. We're wrapping up Carnages right now, and then there's really nothing on the slate. I've got Corey and Greg, who are helping with all the CGC stuff and absolutely crushing it. So it's just a process, you know. I'll fail till I succeed.
There you go. And Pat's been. You guys got everything's been pretty much sold out as it comes out, right? Black Panther's sold out.
Yeah.
All those Spider-Mans that ever came out are sold out. The Venom is sold out. The Venom 200 went up today.
Venom 200 went up today. It's a little bit pricier than most of them. And part of that was just kind of that idea that, you know, it's an expensive book. We know how fast stuff sells out. And we've got a lot of people at this point that are, you know, being able to come in and buy one, being able to come in and buy two. Right. And so we don't really have limit parameters on there. So it's been really steady. In fact, while I was just on with you, I'm trying to turn notifications off, and they're still coming up at the top. And I don't know how to do that. I'm not smart enough to do that, guys.
Me neither.
So I've hit every notification button on my phone. But yeah, no, it's been really good. We're really happy with it. And it is what it is. And I saw the Art Germ stuff for Corey. I saw sold out the sets, I believe.
Yeah, the raw sets are gone. Still have a few of the yellow labels available and the blue labels, but everything raw except for the trade dress is gone.
Yeah,
and I think we're down to like 400 of those. I mean, that's none from 2,500 down to 400.
There's a lot of covers that I like out there. I really liked his take on it. And I think someone put up, you know, an animated thing where they made the covers move. So it was either in Art Germ's post or it was in yours where they made the face, or somebody did, where, you know, all of a sudden you could see both covers at the same time and you could see the face coming. I thought that was cool. So it doesn't surprise me that anything that Art Germ puts out as an exclusive would sell so well. but it's Venom 200. I think a lot of people aren't prepared to know that. Well, maybe they are, but we had to verify with Marvel. It is prestige format or perfect bound. So the way that I always tell people is it's like Killing Joke size. It's going to be a thick book. It's something you can put on your shelf. There's going to be a lot of material in that book. So
I think the first one that came out perfect bound, as Marvel calls it, because it is a new format that they put together, or a trademarked version. I'd never heard the term perfect format prior to Marvel Comics 1000. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the first time I had heard that. Yeah. Well, it's different, apparently. That's what I was told by Marvel.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's it. That's my big contribution.
Get some Baxter pages in there, and then all of a sudden, now there's an old term neither of you probably remember, but okay, there we go.
Yeah,
Baxter
if you pull
pages.
it down and you hit "Do Not Disturb" on your phone, it'll stop all that.
Can you see it happening or what?
No, but I can hear it. Bah.
You know what? I tried that advice Corey gave me. It did not work on my phone. People still end up calling me. I still get text messages. It's annoying.
It is.
Well, see, if they double call, if they call twice, it goes through automatically.
Oh,
yeah.
I tried. I hit everything, so I apologize. I even went into the website itself and tried to get it out there. I think Pat Gleason might show up and watch or be in the comments, so we'll see what happens.
Hey, look, it's Greg.
I did want to announce that we also have a challenger incoming too.
well,
Who incoming?
it's not you, is it, Greg?
No,
Is it
the
Bill?
man of the hour.
Oh. Well, then I guess that's about where I'm going to have to bow out, and I'll let you two heroes take this one.
Go comb your beard.
I shaved this morning.
I know you did.
Where? All right.
Oh, man. All right, guys. It's nice seeing you again, JJ. And guys, get ready for Bill Sienkiewicz.
We're excited.
It's Bill Sienkiewicz.
It is.
Yeah. Got perma smile. So there you go.
Right? How could you not be excited for that?
Just like all kinds of things.
Hey!
Nice and crooked, you know. How you guys doing?
Hello, Bill. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for being on.
Completely washed out here in the sun. Like, it's just, you guys look really healthy and everything. And
Well, you're in California, so you're actually warm. We're not.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's raining right? Here. I have fake light over me. I mean, so I kind of would trade places
You're
with
one
you
of
any
those
day.
rare human beings that actually looks good in fluorescent lights. It doesn't make you look sick, Meanwhile, I'm out here in the real sun, and it's like, and I look like, like Brad Pitt, the vampire version, not the real guy,
Interview with the vampire Brad Pitt, everybody.
Right. Yeah, I would. How you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
All right. Cranking along. I guess we're sort of winding down, back to reality or normalcy or whatever. I mean, knock wood.
Yep.
Or wood-based substance,
There we go.
There you go.
Back to quasi whatever normal is now, right? I mean, I think we're all kind of just trying to figure it all out, and it's every day is a blessing, and I think every day we're just trying to keep moving forward and figure out what is the new norm. I can't remember a time like this. So
yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this when I was getting ready to go. I was actually almost ready to wear my mask for the Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
that's how, like,
I've been there too. Yep.
It's like that kind of thing. It's like, whoa, okay, so that's what it's like. Where are you guys based? Where are you at, Rich?
So I'm in New York right now. I'm in Long Island, New York.
Oh, okay.
And JJ's in one of the Dakotas.
I am in South Dakota. So me being here means there's only 2 other people watching the state at this point. But
What's
I'm
like there right now? Are you getting spring, or is it still pretty cold there?
It's been unseasonably warm, and then it will get cold and it'll get chilly overnight. And so it's just kind of a weird situation where, we were in the 80s, almost 90s setting records. And then we've had a bit of a drought. And so it's just kind of, maneuvering, and today was rain, and yeah, I mean, we see it all. So,
Nice. Well, okay. So you have the real
we
deal
see
there.
all seasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. Yeah.
At
There's no
once.
question.
At once, right?
At once.
All at once. Yes. You don't know which day you're going to see it. Trust me.
Exactly.
It might be May and it might be snowing, and you're like, I thought that was over like 3 months ago, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I hear that from quite a few people. I mean, people talk about that with Florida, but they very rarely, if ever, mention snow if you don't like the weather, stick around for 10 minutes, kind of,
It's true. It's true. I bet.
But you're beating the other areas like on the East Coast there in the Midwest, but
you go down to Florida and you're like, you're literally like, oh, it's rain, and it doesn't rain. When it rains in Florida, it pours.
Oh yeah.
And you're sitting there going, oh my goodness, and everyone's like, just give it 10 minutes, it'll be fine.
That's it.
And literally 10 minutes later, you're like,
remember.
did it even rain today? But then all of a sudden the humidity starts building up, and yeah, it's crazy. So
yeah, I used to see Will Eisner lived down there, and I used to Will and I got to know each other back, from different conventions that we used to go to, and we would see each other mostly in Europe, or other conventions across the world. So it was we had a running joke. It was like, I'll see you in Timbuktu, But I remember going and seeing him in Florida, and he was the guy who said, if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes. It's like, and I thought, he's such a great writer. He came up with that. It's like, apparently that's sort of, I think they hand that to you on a card when you move to the state,
Probably.
But but it's it's good to see you guys, and I'm proud to be doing this. Really excited.
Oh no,
we're on the project. So.
It's our honor to have you on, and as we've been talking about today, you did our variant for Something's Killing the Children, number 16, which is an homage to your Electra Assassin cover. It is a gorgeous cover.
Thank you.
It flew off our site immediately when it went up, so we thank you for that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. It's always weird doing an homage. I mean, the first time I did sort of the Electra number 1, the tip of the hat, at a certain point, I'm assuming that people are kind of up to here with that, but there's always seems to be some interesting, new take that's possible. So, I mean, chainsaws were I like that as a suggestion. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I saw that, because not only was it a big chainsaw, it was 3 gigantic steam-powered chainsaws, which is amazing.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you got to go just a little bit further.
Hell yeah.
I look at the original Electra cover right now. At the time, it felt kind of ridiculous and sort of over the top. She's like 105 pounds, dripping wet, high heels, carrying a gun that's easily outweighs her by 150%, and it just felt like a satire. And then it all of a sudden, and I would see guns that were from Jim Lee and Liefeld's and everything else. It was just these massive kind of things. And I'm going like, I look at that cover now, I just think how quaint it looks. Oh, it's so cute. She's got such a little tiny gun,
Right.
So
compared to like Cable or something.
To keep upping the ante.
Yeah. Now you get to see how big everybody's chainsaws are going to be in future books now.
There we go.
There you go. Now it's the chainsaw challenge.
War? Was it one of those games that had like the chainsaw gun?
There's so many games that have chainsaw guns. I think of like Doom, Resident Evil.
Yeah,
probably.
It was something like that. But I remember. I remember doing some work on some of those games, and there were certain kind of strict constrictions and restrictions, like or certain definite specifications. Like I think if I gave the chainsaw like 68 teeth as opposed to 72 teeth, I was like, I was not on model. It was like, I'm the wrong guy for this.
See, I was laughing today too, because having you on, and a new Resident Evil 8 came out. So I started diving into my old games, and I pick up Resident Evil 1, which I have still. And I'm like, oh my God, Bill Sienkiewicz did the cover of this Resident Evil game. And
I still remember doing that. Was at the very beginning of working with computers and stuff like that, the very, very early, switch. And at that time, it's like when I was asked to do it, I thought, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, I'm down with that. And, here we are, how many decades later, and Resident Evil's like,
Still going.
it's still going, yeah.
And that cover is still iconic. That first cover of that first game is instantly recognizable to any video gamer. Prove it.
Yeah. It's a strange thing like that. Like I remember doing, when I was doing a lot of painted covers for Marvel early on, like with the Dazzler and stuff. And then they approached me to do the cover for Transformers #1,
Yeah.
and then there were, and I think I've signed probably as many copies of Transformers #1 than I have maybe of, some issue of the Fantastic Four, or very, probably closely, Moon Knight. I mean, it's just one of those ones that keeps cropping up in the,
Yeah.
you just never know.
I mean, that book, that Transformers book specifically, I know a couple of weeks ago, me and my buddy went to a store and he saw it on the wall. And he's like, I got to get this book, Like, it's just one of those books now. If you see it, it's just like, you have to get it. Does not matter what the price is. That Transformers book is that's a great find nowadays if you hit a store.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting.
Well,
the
image is
that
kind
you
of,
don't think of when you're, as the person doing the covers or the artwork or whatever. There's just no way of knowing if it's gonna hit, or anything else. All I knew is that when they asked me to do it, it was a chance to, I can paint a giant robot, and on a cover for a comic book. It's like, let me at it,
Yeah.
So, but then you see all the other versions of characters and toys like Starriers and and other things that sort of come out and try to capture it, but it's interesting because comics were sort of the the happy meal, or the sort of additional, if something made it to a comic book, it usually meant like it was part of some kind of
It was always that tie-in.
program to
Yeah.
try to sell it,
Mm-hmm.
So, but to let it become its own thing, because I'm all about the purity of comics. I know that they could be a happy meal addendum. They could be, just another version of any advertising loop. But to me, it's like, does it work as a comic? I'm always sort of in the back of my mind, at least thinking, aside from all of the advertising and tie-in stuff, how is this as an actual comic? Does it work?
Yeah.
So
That's the right
that little
mindset.
kernel of of purity in my soul.
I love it.
But I'm glad that it seems to be well responded to.
Well, I mean, I was having this conversation with Greg, who's off camera. He's doing our camera work and everything. Is that even thinking about stuff from my childhood or other mediums I watch, whether when I was younger watching cartoons or movies or trading cards or comics, Bill Sienkiewicz stuff has always, no matter who you are, it's passed by your eyeballs at some point. You have touched so many different mediums and so many different aspects of everything. So in that sense, like, do you have one like outside the comic books that you really like doing? Was it movies, TV? Was it the trading card stuff? Is there anything that gravitates to you more when somebody comes to you with a project in a certain medium?
Well, I think I fell in love with comics very young, and animation, like cartoons. And for me, like reading, because my grandfather, he came over from Poland and he was a coal miner. So his English was a little rough, but I remember he and I would spend Sundays reading through the funnies, the newspaper funnies. That was his way of helping him, to learn English and stuff. So I fell in love with comics and newspaper strips, and just loved the idea that, you on the Sunday funnies, you could have the Peanuts, or you could have like Mary Perkins on stage. You could have some serious stuff, Milton Caniff work, and then all this other kind of cartooning. So I thought that this medium that can take something really serious as well as cartoony, it was all of these potential ways of playing up and down the scales. This medium could do it all. That's what I basically felt. So I knew early on that that's what I wanted to do. then as I went into art school, I really fell in love with painting and art and illustration, like all of art.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was always like, I'm going to put that into comics, you know? So, you know, there were illustrators who did movie posters, TV guide covers, when illustration actually was in Sports Illustrated. It's like, what a concept, you know? But to me, it was always through the lens of comics. So, so when people come up to me and they talk to me about, you know, they've seen my work on like, you know, Bobby Digital, or, you know, something like the Wu-Tang Clan, or, you know, or the Hendrix book, or even some, you know, now recently, like stuff with TV, like Legion or whatever. All of that's wonderful. It's really great. It's sort of like gravy. But to me, you know, it's the purity of when somebody comes to me and says, you know, and apologizes for the condition of a comic that they're having me sign. You know, it's like, well, I'm sorry it's in such horrible shape. I'm like, no, you don't get it. It's like, that's what I want to see.
That's the greatest compliment you could get.
Yeah, exactly. So all of those other arenas are in part due to the fact that that people sort of tolerated my work in comics, that they love it, you know, or like it enough and respond to it enough for me to do work elsewhere. But that's still where my blood runs the hottest, is for the comic stuff.
And I have a question that and I'm sure you've been asked this before, but, you know, for the people that are coming in that are new to the industry and they're seeing, you know, we're doing an homage cover to Elektra Assassin, and they're finding all of the work you've done on the New Mutants, you know, especially the Demon Bear. A lot of people are familiar with that and your work with that, Moon Knight. You know, I always wondered, and I've always wanted to ask, how tough was it for you to break into the industry having a style that was unique? Because look, you can look at something to this day and say, that's Bill Sienkiewicz. And I always wondered that comics at that era were so much like you drew, like, you know, Carmen Infantino, or it was,
Sure.
everything was kind of built a certain way, right? You know, John Byrne was massive in his art. You come along and you've got just this crazy, eclectic, awesome
Abstract
stuff. You know, I mean, and it was, and it really was unique at the time. And I know you've done a lot of inking, and I know you've done a lot of that, but was there someone that you would look back on that was your champion as you were breaking into the industry, that was like, look, you got it. I know it's a little different, but you keep up with it, keep going with it. Was there someone that you can think of, or any stories that you could tell on that?
Well, there was a guy I knew, because I grew up in northern New Jersey, Sussex County, big farming community. You know, the breadbasket of New Jersey. You know, it's like of the veg. You know, the Garden State. That was sort of, you know, even more. It was a very like farming and equestrian area. Some areas like Lake Mohawk and Lake Apatcong, and there were a lot of lakes up in that area. There was one guy who worked in an animation. I forget what company he worked for. His name was Jim Logan, and my art teacher introduced me to him, and I was still in high school, I think a sophomore, and he was one of the first professionals in illustration or in animation or in comics related that I met, and he was very, very positive and sort of said, you can do whatever you want. But I was really into Neil Adams growing up, you know, and I hated his work when I first saw it, because I was very much into Kurt Swan's work. And Neil's work came in and sort of upset the apple cart for so many. And I decided I was just, you know, I stopped reading DC Comics because of how much I hated Neil's stuff. And that's what switched me over to Marvel. And then later on, I was like in my early teens, I really fell in love with Neil's work, and made it a point to become like as good as he was. So when I actually decided to give it a go and try to get a job in comics, I decided my work wasn't good enough for Marvel. That's what I sort of decided. I would put together a portfolio of work from DC characters, you know, that Neil was pretty much associated with, you know, Batman, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, all that stuff. And went in and just to at least see, because I still had another year of art school left. And so I tried to just get some critique, you know, and see if they would at least look at the work and give me some pointers and tell me, look, just give it up. Even though I told my father when I was 7 years old, this is what I'm going to be doing. It's like, you know, so, you know, when you ask if I had any champion or whatever, in a way, I sort of felt like I had no choice in the matter. It was like it had been made for me, the decision. And I was ignorant enough where that was a real blessing. I didn't know enough to be scared or anxious. As I've gotten older, it's like that's when all the questions and doubts come in. You know, I had this conversation with so many other artists where we look at it, we joke about it. Like we look at our old stuff and go, oh, we used to know what we were doing. You know, now it's like we're like discovering the whole thing all over again. You know, it's amazing what not knowing what is capable, you know, or what is possible, how much that can actually affect the positivity of, you know, of just kind of going for it. So, but when I came into to Marvel, when I was actually hired by Marvel, my style was very reminiscent of Neil's. So that was kind of a Trojan horse. That was how I kind of got in. I think if I had come into Marvel with the style that I sort of developed on the New Mutants and Dune, and then the stuff I did later, there would have been no way that I think they would have hired me. They would say, this is just too weird. So I kind of snuck my way in by something that was relatively familiar. And then just sort of decided at a certain point when I started getting a lot of, the working like Neil Adams got me in. A lot of people responded positively to that. And then gradually over the course of a number of issues, the criticism started. You know, Bill Sienkiewicz looks like he's learned to draw from Neil Adams, ellipses, period. You know, it's like I had no other influences. And yet that was not true, because my sketchbooks, I had paintings and illustration and fashion drawings and collages and all of this stuff that I had learned and fallen in love with that I wanted to get put into comic books. And editors were saying no. I mean, my wife at the time was like, that's not how things are done. You know, I was even talked to other artists like Gil Kane, and it was like, you know, my boy, you know, you can't, that's not, you know, how things are done. And I just remember the editors that I was with, you know, with Ann Nocenti or Ralph Macchio on Moon Knight, they were as much a champion. They were the real sort of unsung, you know, partners in crime, so to speak, because they kind of loved comics and they kind of wanted to see how much things could be pushed as well. So all I knew was that I felt so invisible with the clone thing that I just felt I'm either going to find some kind of way to wed what's in my sketchbooks to my love of comics. I was either going to make it all like of a piece, or I was going to get out, because, you know, I felt like the Neil Adams phase was one that kind of got me into comics, but it was something that I also had, you know, gone through in my teens, because I kept doing comics all through my teenage years. And I had pretty much absorbed as much as I could of guys like Kirby, of Buscema, Sal Buscema. I mean, Sergio Aragonés. So at one point or another, everybody in comics, every artist in comics sort of got their time in my exploration. I mean, I can remember Frank Robbins, you know, like kind of just trying out some of his style, or, you know, Doug Wildey's stuff, you know, Johnny Quest, or just, you know, even Erwin Hazen's Dondi, you know, I mean, everything was just, it was like comics, just like feed me, you know? So I don't take it a long time to answer the question, but it's, you know, it was just, my love for comics and the love of art. I just felt like comics are a big tent. They can handle anything. And so if people have seen my work, post Moon Knight, that's sort of, where I really kind of was into guys like David Lynch as well, or Hunter Thompson, so it was everything was sort of affecting the work, not just comic book artists anymore.
Well, I just want to say, because you got to understand, I was busy with a bunch of stuff today, and Rich calls me up, and I usually don't do many of the online interviews, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to come on with our guest today?" And I'm like, who am I coming on with? And he said, Bill Sienkiewicz. And I said, I'll make sure that I shave. I'm going to go shower right now.
Oh,
and,
wow. Really
I had to
honored.
get, so it was exciting for me. But I wanted to tell you this, and I know a lot of this is questions and answers, but to me, you are a legend in this industry. And I've met you a few times at shows. You've always been pleasant. You've always been great. You've always been great to fans. I want people to know that. But I also just want people to know, and especially for people that are coming up and stuff, that, your work was different. While we may look now and see people have all these different styles,
Right.
You were a trailblazer. And there are certain people that I think were trailblazers in our industry. I think Jim Steranko was a trailblazer.
Absolutely.
And, when you look at the small body of work that he had, he did change the game. And I think you, as the illustrator that you were at the time and still are to this day, changed the game for a lot of people to say, no, you don't have to conform to every single black line that fits. You can have watercolor, you can have open-ended spaces,
Absolutely.
You can do all this stuff. And that's what I think you do so beautifully. I don't think there's any topic that you can't cover. And that's the coolest part. I just, so for me, it was really exciting.
That's
yeah.
very
No.
kind of you.
Yeah.
I
well,
really
it's
appreciate
true.
that.
And yeah.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, it's I think it comes down, for me, it comes back down to the love of the medium. And also in some respect to my crazy wiring, which is, I believe the story ultimately knows what it wants. It's like, rather than me kind of coming in and forcing myself on the story and say, I'm going to do it this way. Because I have found more often than not, it's a dialogue and in which I'm, humiliated by the story and by what I think I know. It's like when I come in with plans, it's like that old joke about, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. It's like when I think how I want to approach a story, the work will invariably say, silly rabbit, it's like, you think you know what you're doing. This is what I want to be. And I think ultimately it comes down to just listening and honoring that. So whether that kind of gets into, granola land, in terms of like, hey man, you got to let the work be itself. To me, it's really, I'm constantly learning that. So it's always a learning process. So like the one thing about when you mentioned about people coming in now, I mean, the one thing I do tell them, I said, if you're getting into it, for the money or to develop your own, fragrance line, or anything else, I said, don't do it, because, it will break your heart. And, you have to love it. It has to be in your blood. And that's something that I think anybody who loves comics, when you try to explain it to somebody who, it's like trying to explain the taste of strawberry jam to somebody who's never had strawberries nor jam. It takes somebody else with a kindred mindset to kind of go like, I know exactly what you mean. It's that ineffable thing. But, I've met so many people who, over the years, who've kind of come in and are struggling to find their own voice. And that's the tougher thing, was when you find people who are doing work commercially for the major companies where there's a house style, and then you see their work and their private work or whatever, and it's like it's got its own little personality, and it isn't, quote, big, necessarily like house style type stuff, but yet it's got its own vibrancy, Yeah. So that's why I get more excited about stuff that that kind of creeps in through the the side door.
Absolutely. I mean, I could say, as far as art I've followed in comic art and all that, is I've never seen somebody who has more versatile styles than you do. You've dive into traditional, photorealism, abstract. Not a lot of artists can pull that off, where they can be any style they want or need to be at a drop. So that's a phenomenal talent that you have that you don't really see from a lot of people. Now, with some of the newer people you see coming in the door, is there any one style that's kind of like, oh, I kind of like that, or has grabbed your interest? Is there any one of these modern artists now that you've seen that are like, oh, that person's pretty good, I kind of like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was one, again, it wasn't exactly new. I mean, we just lost him a couple of days ago. I mean, John Paul Leon,
Yep.
I mean, that struck me so hard. I don't know if I'm ever going to get over that, because he was just, he had that sense of abstraction and sense of place and sense of style that was just, he, as much as his work may have looked representational and sort of within the like the frame of representational and looking like other things, there were aspects of his work that were just simply like jazz, so he was certainly one. I mean, Kyle Baker is always somebody that I fall in love with. Marguerite Sauvage, I think she's really amazing. I mean, there's a lot of younger talent coming up, and that's the one thing that I have a problem with, is committing a lot of the names that I see to memory, because I'm usually so busy with stuff. It's like I'll see something and I'm trying to remember the name of the artist that I've seen, who's I think he's Italian, and and I can see the work in my head, but I'm blanking on the name, and it's like, and that's just one, probably because I'm getting older, but also two, it's just that I'm just so jammed up with stuff. But there's always somebody new coming in who is pushing something, and a lot of times it isn't necessarily, again, the kind of work that you see for the big companies. I'll find styles that are much more like I look at Matt Kint's work, or Jeff Lemire's work. It's like there's the art styles they're a little more I don't want to say necessarily underground looking, but there is that kind of quality to it that by that I could say they're not Jim Lee, or they're not any of the image guys. It's like and that's always a kind of a slippery slope to talk about, because one thing I do find problematic is the point of reference conversations. It's like, oh, your work looks like so and so and so and so.
Sure.
People sort of do that, and that's inevitable. That's always going to happen. So at the same time, I always try to recognize that regardless of influences, there's something unique about that particular artist's work that is separate and apart from all the influences, that is wholly and immutably inherent to their work, despite everything else that is out there. And that's what really grabs me when I see that. So Bob Fingerman's work, it's like Bob's been around for a long time, in his own work with Minimum Wage, and then also when he was doing work for Mad. But his work is as vibrant and as fresh, to me now as it was then, and he's always getting better. So there's a whole slew of talent out there that for me that surprises me, continues to surprise me. The thing about that is also, it's, if you're in the business for a long time, it's easy to get burnt out,
Sure.
or be sort of wiped out, and people who keep going and pushing themselves, that's also been really inspiring as well to see.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I could name, if I actually had a list of names, I could go down and say, this is, I know, this is what I love about this person's work,
Sure.
And and look at the pieces and just say that, they're still doing it. They're still kicking ass.
Yeah, absolutely. To pivot a little bit, they announced, now your name always comes up in conversation when I'm hearing about this show coming out. They're doing Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about the show? Have Marvel or any of these people
I
been
probably have
talking
heard about
about
as
it?
much as other people have.
Is it something you'd be looking forward to? Are you going to watch it?
Yeah, I'll watch it. Absolutely. Yeah. I think I was very invested in Legion, in terms of being a fan, and and certainly, with the New Mutants movie. I mean, I think it got some mixed reviews, but I still think it's a fantastic film, and I think the cast was amazing. But
A lot of fun.
when I was on Moon Knight as an artist, it's like once I left that after 3 years, I didn't feel necessarily like any kind of proprietary interest in it. Like
No
I
ownership?
realized that I was just one of the baton holders that I would pass to the next generation. So so I know that whatever's going to be happening with Moon Knight, it's going to be probably a mix of several different areas or eras.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But I'm very much intrigued by the idea of it. Right now, I'm in discussions about possibly doing some stuff like cover-wise, to sort of tie in. But
Excellent.
but I'm always curious to see what they do, because you never know what's gonna strike, a chord.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And
what about
Marvel
yourselves?
does a
Are
good
you
job
guys
with that.
curious at all?
Huh?
Are you guys curious at all as
Oh,
well?
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any
and
one of
I'm-
those things.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like when they do title sequences and stuff, I'm like, oh, I want Bill to do it. So I'm going to throw that out there. Not that I have any say in any of this, but
Well, from your lips to whatever
to whoever's out
To
there.
whoever's
yeah.
ears.
Yeah, that would be
I mean,
fun.
you
That would be
you
fun.
can't all these years. I mean, this is the truth. You can't all these years get away from Moon Knight and not someone will inevitably bring your name up with Moon Knight. So while you felt you were a baton holder, you were carrying it on, those issues and that run are still very fondly looked at. Your art style, all of that. I mean, you really were a perfect fit for Moon Knight, and I think still to this day people look at it and they're like, they think of Bill whenever they think of Moon Knight, and I think there's been a lot of people that have
That's
been on
nice
there.
to hear. I do think that probably the reason I may look at it with a mix of feelings about it is that I think early on I felt, because the Adams influence is so strong,
Right.
but I did feel that in the later issues from 20 on up to issue 26 with Hit It, which is the one I plotted. That one, to me, I felt like I captured something musical in that, and it wasn't simply the villain of the month or the cape, the heist of the month or whatever.
Yeah.
It felt like I touched something about the medium of comics and things that you could say. And so I think the later issues probably are the ones that I look upon as sort of everything up prior to that was sort of just kind of getting ready. So I suppose in a way you could say I did like 10 issues or a dozen issues of Moon Knight. Everything else was just, warm up,
There you go.
But
The warm-up issues.
yeah, but yeah, it's and again, seeing who from Kevin Nolan to Bendis to you name it, to anybody taking over. One thing that feels good is that it's a character that was far more than just sort of the villain in a werewolf book, which is, I think, we're pretty much where you started.
Yep.
So, I'm very curious to see what they do with the new iteration of the series.
Yeah.
I talk about like the comic as opposed to.
The new Moon Knight #1 that's coming out in a couple months.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they got, what Marvel's going to be doing for that, because it'll definitely be more in line with whatever they're trying to do on the show and everything. So
Right.
it'll be a good time. But unfortunately, we need to start winding down here. So a couple of things
Okay, sure.
I want to go through real quick. One, I want to give a big thank you out to Sue Carlin, who's
yes.
been keeping us in touch. She is absolutely wonderful and fantastic. Real delight, fantastic person. Two, in regards to Something's Killing the Children book, you're gracious enough and fantastic enough that you'll be signing copies of that book. This is going to be a targeted signing for everybody watching. So
Sure.
Bill is going to sign Orders of Something's Killing Children number 16, and you're going to be offering remarked versions as well, with the pricing and everything will be listed afterwards. But it's just for that book. As much as we love your Moon Knight, Elektra, New Mutants, all that other stuff, you're a busy man. We're dealing with this book, and you got some fun stuff that you'll be announcing signing wise down the line that I've heard about.
But this is specifically for this issue,
which
I'm
over the moon
last
about.
to do. So
yeah, when we're so happy for it, and we loved having you on. You're an absolute legend in this industry, and personally to everything I enjoy about comics, and I'm sure JJ as well.
I shaved for this, Rich.
He shaved.
I literally
That's a big
shaved
deal.
for this. I mean, my wife is going to be thrilled.
I'm beyond blown away by your generosity and good job. Which brand? It's
you know what? I go through them probably about every 6 months, where I just go out and buy another cheap one, and then I just go over it, and I look like the Marlboro Man. So it is what it is. But no, it's been an absolute treat to have you on here, and I know. Rich has been working with you and Sue, and we would love to have you back on anytime.
I'd love to anytime. And again, thanks so much for, what I was saying earlier about seeing, interesting comics and what the medium is capable of. That's one of the things that, and again, stumbling through this, it's like saying with the amount of work I'm usually doing and head up my behind, or like in whatever world I'm in where I'm trying to get things done, and thanks so much for reaching out to me and exposing me to something that I might not have ordinarily or been able to see until months down the road. So you gentlemen have inspired me. It's like it excited me to try to get stop hanging upside down in my bat cave and kind of get out into the sun a bit more, to the shops. But maybe with things opening up, we'll be able to do that. But thanks so much for exciting me and showing me that, like, hey, there's generations in comics. There's the medium is still got it.
Yeah.
And,
right.
And that's what you guys are proving. So.
Right now, it is indie stuff, that Image, your creator-owned IPs and stuff. It is all that all day right now. So the creativity flying out of there is immense and amazing. One last thing I want to plug also is that on Bill Sienkiewicz's website, billsienkiewicz's.com, he still has Department of Truth Virgin covers for number 6 that you can purchase from there. So definitely go to billsienkiewiczart.com and pick up one of those as well. Yeah. Bill, thank you so much for being on, man. It was a real honor.
Gentlemen.
We appreciate it.
Yes.
Anytime you want to come on, anytime you have a story you want to tell, anytime you have something you want to plug, we know we could go for hours with you, and we love you, and we thank you for everything you've done for this medium, and we'll continue to do.
It means a lot, gentlemen. It will.
One last shout out to John Marsden. He runs a Facebook group. He's friends with you on Facebook.
Yes.
Wonderful human being. He's one of the people who helped me get in touch with you also. So a nice shout out to him as well.
Really good people. We got. This is a great community, and like, again, anything I can do, shout out wise, or just promotion wise, just because I love what you guys do. So if I can be any kind of evangelist.
Oh, dude, we'd just love to have you on again soon, man. All right.
Anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Gentlemen.
All righty.
Thank you, Bill.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. That was really cool.
Oh, wow.
All right.
I mean,
so first and foremost, we got to talk about this before we get into the whole. So we are going to be putting up on the site, and it'll be a one-day thing. It's technically our show exclusive. It is going to be an option for the Something's Killing the Children number 16 Comic-Con line Bill Sienkiewicz variant. It will be graded versions, double signed by James Tynion IV, Bill Sienkiewicz, and a Bill Sienkiewicz remark on that. We'll also have it options if you want it double signed, no remark, or remark and signed by Bill. Also, for anybody that's purchased the book already, you can go through the normal channels of one of our facilitators, whether it's Rich Hen, Twin Seas, Agents of Slab, Scott's Collectibles, or Steve McDonald, Clan McDonald Comics, and you can go to them and say, I bought Something's Killing Children number 16. I want to get a Bill Sienkiewicz remark. You can do that. The only way you'll be able to get a lot of these double signed ones and with the remark is through our one-day posting we're going to have up on that. So that's a bit of house cleaning on that. So if there's any questions, I answered them already. All right. Now back to the fun. Damn.
Well,
Bill
I had something
Sienkiewicz
on that too. When we released the book, we purposely held back books, hoping that we were able to convince Bill to do this, and he was gracious enough to do this. And I'll tell you, I've been doing conventions and comics for years and years and years, and getting a remark by Bill is not the easiest thing in the world.
Right.
And
they are $100 remarks, by the way. Yeah.
And I will also say that James is a big fan of Bill also. So, this is cool in the way that it works. So we are very over the moon with how much people love this cover. Rich, I know you were very instrumental in putting this all together and thinking of an Elektra Assassin homage cover. I think you slayed it. I love this cover. Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite covers. And for Bill to take it on, and then for him to just go crazy and put the gut buster on, and everything else was amazing. And he really just knocked it out of the park. And then for him to come on here, share his stories. Look, folks, we're literally this much into Bill at this point, talking about the history and all of the things that are going on. He is a legend. If you've been around comics, you know who he is. If you're new to comics, please do your research. Go look up some stuff. Pick up Elektra Assassin, his Moon Knight run. Go look at the New Mutants run that he did. He talked about Legion, Demon Bear, all the stuff we saw in the movie. So much stuff. He really is a legend, and he is a trailblazer. So,
hold on one sec. In the meantime, Greg, if people are asking questions, because I can't see them, post them up so we can answer some questions while me and JJ kind of nerd out here a little bit more about Bill. If anyone has any questions about anything, if anyone wants that now, during the interviews. Oh, here we go. If I already purchased the Tynion CGC already signed, how can I add the Bill auto to it? So what you're going to do is, first of all, message us, and we'll work out a way where we can add on or find a way to make that work through one of our facilitators who will be handling the Tynion signing, and we can also add Bill on there. So we can make sure, listen, there's 700, this was a 750 print run book. So there's a max of 750 remarks we can do. So if you guys got these books and you want to get remarks, I'm not limiting you on remarks, but the ability to get those double signed CGC 9/8 and stuff like that, that's going to be a tough go around because of the one-day listing that we're going to be putting up. After that, it's going through facilitators. So you can pre-buy them, or you can go through the copies you've already bought. Totally up to you. Not a big deal. Any rough estimation to the on-sale date? I believe Something's Killing the Children 16 is May 26th. So the Thursday or Friday before Memorial Day. So that book will come out by then. We're going to try and organize the signings because James Tynion, here's something we didn't announce at the top of the show today. James Tynion, even though he wasn't able to be on today, he will be doing a signing with us. You can send him whatever you want for him. All right. Oh, is that listening on the website now, Greg?
Yeah, I think that's what Andrew was asking is when is this one-day sale going to happen? And that sale is happening now.
Oh, it's right now.
I believe it is. Yeah.
I thought I was going to wait till we were even off here. All right.
Yeah,
it's
probably.
now.
And all of a sudden everyone says, woof, they're gone, right?
Right.
But you should be fine. We're okay. And we can always set it up. So that's it. as both you gentlemen of seasoned comic book
That's
veterans.
Dino give a shit. No. Where is
Oh, it's Dino. Okay, yeah. We'll
Yeah, it's
skip
Dino.
that comment. He is one of our fine facilitators that can take these books and get them done. And I want people to know there are a lot of great facilitators out there. We work with a lot of them. There are certain ones that we work with right now. And it's just a small section of the great facilitators that are out there. But, you know, each and every one of them I've known for a long time, or certain parts of our ownership has. They're all great to work with. They take this very seriously. They're not flinging your books around. They're not doing any of that stuff. They are seasoned veterans. What's that?
I'm the one throwing your books around.
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah.
This is why nobody gives me books to handle anymore.
Yeah, I let you handle books. You're fine with them. You take care of them just well. You know, hey, I mean, like, I was talking to Pat Gleason today. I don't know if Pat's watching or not, but I was talking to him today, and I'm like, yeah, Rich called me, you know, right when we were dropping our book and this and that. And he's like, what did Rich need? And I'm like, he wanted me to come on with Bill Sienkiewicz. And you could hear it was like an audible, you know, I mean.
Go back to our January Spider-Man show when I put Bagley on with Pat Gleason.
Yeah, that was epic.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was really, really cool. And I mean, you know, he's a legend. And I just love how, I want to use the word laissez-faire he is. You know, he doesn't put on airs. He's just chilling. He's just, you know, dropping Will Eisner in there. You know,
yeah.
Just like, Will Eisner, tell us more. You know,
right?
Because that's, you know, again, iconic. So
I definitely want to have Bill on again as soon as 100%. Possible.
We should just have questions with Bill.
I would do that.
Just let Bill know, hey, we're gonna have 10 eclectic questions. We want to see what your answers are gonna be on these.
If any artist in the comic book medium could definitely unlock the secrets of the universe, it is Bill Sienkiewicz.
Absolutely. And I thought, you know, I kind of held what I wanted to say, but that was the one thing that I've always wondered, because when you come in, you know, he had to follow a certain, as he said, he had to kind of follow the script in order to get in, and then boom, explore
the Trojan horse.
You want to do. I don't know that you could do that right now in this medium. Like, I don't think you could come in and do it the way he did it. I think people are already kind of set with the way they're going to go.
No, you see, I feel the opposite. I feel when Bill came in, it was very much that Neil Adams style, very much traditional comic art. Now it feels like you have a better chance of getting in with being more obscure than the traditional comic art.
Well, no, I agree with that. I'm just saying, if you were to come in and you were to be an artist and you were to draw in a quasi-traditional style, I think if you made a transition over to being someone like Bill in that eclectic, I don't know how well that transition was. He was able, as he said, to work on Moon Knight and go from being Neil Adams to becoming Bill Sienkiewicz.
Right.
And that's the point where if you want to pick up that run, you see the metamorphosis over it to where he gets to where he is. And I love the fact that he brought up two absolute legends in our industry with Ralph and Ann about them being the editors who were behind him. You know, I work with artists. Every one of them has editors, and sometimes it's a rotating cast. But those are two legendary editors who said, this kid's got it. Let's keep going with him and see what happens. And there are so many stories in this industry where people are supportive and push people in that direction. So that's kind of the take on that. I'm really excited we have this offering, though. I'm really excited that it's up. People can get James, who's absolutely crushing everything in front of him. He's got a new. Yeah.
Let's do the rundown.
Do it.
We'll do the rundown. All right. First and foremost, all right, pick up your Pat Gleason Venom 200s. Very cool. Give JJ more shipping to do. All right. Where can people get those Venom 200s, JJ?
You can go to Patrick Gleason's shop. It's Big Cartel. Very easy to find, and I've gotten notifications the whole time we're going on here that they're still selling.
I heard them.
Yeah. And so we're really excited. We want to thank everybody. Yeah. And I'm going to go back to shipping after this.
So yeah, get your Venom 200 Pat Gleason covers. Get whatever, I don't think there's any left. Get your graded Venom 200 art germ sets. Go to the site now, comiconline.com, for your Something's Killing the Children number 16. Bam! Greg is on top of it. That boy. if you want to get the double signed and remarked versions by Bill Sienkiewicz and James Tynion IV, one of the super secret thing, one of the reasons we use Bill Sienkiewicz is because James Tynion told me in a conversation late last year that Bill Sienkiewicz is one of his favorite artists of all time, and he finally got him on a Department of Truth book, and I'm like, we'll see about that, James. So is that the hype button? We're officially off the rails. Anyway, so you can order those. Send in your Something's Killing Children 16s for Bill. You can send in whatever you want for James Tynion IV. Go through any of our facilitators. Lee Bermeo will be doing signing and remarks. He's 25 a sig, 75 a remark. Try and keep it to Batmans and Jokers because that's where you're going to get your best results. Don't be coming at him with the craziness that if he's never drawn it before, don't ask it for him. And don't try not to send blanks either. That's cheap. It's cheap.
Bermejo, just extraordinary.
Extraordinary. One of the most fantastic artists. One of my favorites. Definitely in my top 5. I'll be sending him books. If you're sending Batman Damned, even though there's probably no raw copies left of that book in the world, it's $50 a signature and $150 for the remark on that. Kale and Allen, they are doing signing. No sketches, no remarks. They're backed up. They have to catch up a lot of things. Maybe later in the year when we have them on. But
come on, Alan.
I know, dude. I got to think because we were talking to Alan about all the characters he puts on covers, and Corey kept saying Batman 100, Batman 100, Batman 100. And the one thing that popped in my head, I didn't want to say it to Alan, was like, what if we do an every citizen in Gotham cover? Like 7.8 million people on one book.
And we could probably set a Guinness Book World Records. It would probably be a gatefold cover at a minimum. That's a joke. Clearly.
Dude, it'd be a double gatefold cover. One in the front, one in the back.
Yeah, it'd be a football field length cover, but I think Alan could cover it, and I think we should commission it.
Alan, I want you to draw Gotham City and every resident in the windows, fully drawn. I don't want no half-ass stick figures here, bud.
He's so good. He's such
and Kale's great too.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see all this, and we've got conventions coming back in some capacity here and there. I can tell you one thing: Comic-Con line is not going anywhere. We're still going to bring you the best guests we can. We're still going to bring you everything that we potentially can at all times. Trust me, I am shackled to the basement, but I'm still paying attention. These guys are bringing a lot of great talent on, and one thing I wanted to do. And here we go, a little background discussion is I would like to have Doug Mankey come on and do like an hour-long animation video, and I think he might be up for it.
What's he doing next weekend?
Well, we'll see what he's got going on. I know what I have going on. It's shipping, but
Doug can come on whenever the hell he wants.
Doug kind of gets to do whatever he wants when it comes to you and I, because
I'll never say no to Mr. Doug Mankey ever.
No.
Plus. Like I showed you earlier, I need my book signed.
I think he would take care of that.
Yeah, he would
do that. But we do honestly appreciate you guys, and we want you to know Comic-Con Line is not here to compete with online conventions, and we always want to state that. We are just another avenue for those of you that may not be ready to go, may not want to go, may want to stay at home, and want to spend the time here with us, with the creators, and the opportunities that we're able to present. And we're going to continue doing that for you for as long as we're able to do that. That's a big plus.
It's fun to do these things when it's, you can't make it to a show. You want to just hear something in the background while you're doing work, or you're, taking care of your kids, or you're taking care of your pets, or you're working a double at a job or something like that. That's why we do this stuff, to make sure everybody can enjoy the convention experience and not have to leave their house.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want, without you guys, without whoever's watching or anything like that, it's just me and JJ and Corey and Greg doing, not much. We're just running around doing our thing. We like doing this for you guys. It's fun for us. But you also think about it, like we've had some killer names on so far this year. We've had Pat Gleason, Mark Bagley, Rick Leonardi. We've had Bermeo now, Bill Sienkiewicz, Kalen Allen a few times. Joe Hill, Kelly Jones. We're not messing around here, guys. All right. So Yeah, well,
we'll just keep trying to do it. And anytime people have suggestions or anytime people want to, help bring someone on, I mean, just like you saw with Rich earlier when we were working with Bill, we had someone outside. That's the way the comics community works.
tell us who you want.
The whole goal with Comic-Con Line is not for any of us to go out and buy new cars. Okay. That has never been the goal. The goal is for us to see something. Well, maybe for Rich.
I got some Hot Wheels.
Yeah. The goal is always to bring together people and to bring opportunities for people and to bring these facilitators together and to bring these artists on. And like you heard Bill, it's really refreshing and cool to hear Bill say, this is really fun. This is fun for me to do. And so we like that. We like having people on. And so we just want to be positive in this situation and positive with everything that we have going on. So I just really want to make sure that people understand that, when you're going to those comic conventions, we are thrilled you are. I mean, we want to get back to normal. We also realize that there is a new normal, and part of that's going to be Comic-Con Line. It's going to be a lot of different other avenues. And so we look at this as a family. I see a lot of names in the chat. You'll see me kind of push buttons, and I'll see Mark Strong.
Yeah, I can't see the chat. That bums me out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of names, and besides
Greg was supposed to be popping up stuff. Where are you, Greg? What you doing?
I'm right here.
He's
hello, Greg.
Doing whatever,
and he bounces off immediately. Good man, Greg.
I said no. There's no other questions in the chat right now. Let's see here. There we go. So now it's just statements. People putting the link there for and a bunch of thanks, like here, right there. Look at that. Thank you guys.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, Greg, what did you think of the day?
Oh, it was awesome. It was great seeing Bill. Bill did one of my favorite rap covers of all time for the RZA. The Bobby Digital cover. It's fantastic. So, and just getting to listen to him talk was super amazing.
Yo, did you see fucking JJ? I'm gonna curse now because we have no more guests today. But did you see fucking JJ's eyes light up when Bill was like Wu-Tang and JJ had to hold everything in to be like forever?
I know. I was just like, I wanted to bring up that he did the RZA, and I wanted to be like EPMD because EPMD is one that I've turned my son on to, and then Wu-Tang. And just so everybody knows, I'm 47 years old, but you got to understand, back in '93, I was freshman in college, and Wu-Tang was blew my mind, and EPMD was before that. So I mean, for a lot of that's the stuff I listened to all day. And then now to have my son come, like I've told you guys, and show me Logic and be like, oh, here's a Wu-Tang song with Logic on it, and I'm turning to him going, well, if you listen to 36 Chambers, right? If you listen to this, if you listen to that. But yeah, the fact that he's just so casual, when I did the RZA cover, and you're just kind of
Dude, there's one I'm surprised he hasn't done yet. Czarface with Inspector Deck. I mean, it's a comic rapping theme group a lot of times, and
let's put it together.
Great,
yeah,
let's make that cover. Come on,
we'll do our own pressing, and we'll have Bill do the cover for it. That'd be fun. That would be really cool.
I love that Bill Sienkiewicz talks about defining moments of my art enjoying life. It's just the most passive stuff ever. When I brought up Resident Evil, and he's just I remember doing that. And he's just yeah, that was fun. And then he goes, I'm like, dude, that was such a defining moment of my life. Are you kidding?
Well, even Transformers #1. I mean, when I think of Bill, I don't necessarily think of that cover, but yet it's such an iconic cover that it's somewhat funny in a way, because look, anytime you see that cover, it's Bill, but it shows how versatile he was in his style.
Yeah, even on the game front of things, for me with Maximum Carnage for the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, that's Bill Sienkiewicz cover.
Magic the Gathering cards,
Superman trading cards,
the Marvel cards. He Stray Toasters, which was when he got to really just do whatever he wanted. I mean, there's just so much out there of his stuff, and yeah, I would say that you pretty much can't miss his stuff throughout all the generations. So when we say legend, when we say icon, he probably would tell you no.
GOAT.
Which most legends or icons would say, but there's no way to get around it. I mean, Bill Sienkiewicz is he is an absolute. I mean, I'm not kidding. I literally shaved for Bill Sienkiewicz. And my wife is going to see this and probably go, but you won't for me. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
And you look at the wife, you be like, "You're amazing, but you're not Bill Sienkiewicz." And on that note,
yes,
we'll get to the next. I'm glad we got some airtime from Greg over here too, the man behind the camera who makes this all possible. You're the man, bro. Yeah, that's right. Get out of there. So next time you'll see us is probably towards the end of June.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it a little bit earlier at the top. I don't think JJ even knows, where we'll have so far Joe Jusko for his new variant with Clan McDonald Comics for Captain America, and Sean Gordon Murphy most likely, and a couple of others. I'm leaving now.
Alrighty, outro video.
Outro.